All right, Eagles fans, I step away for a weekend and Howie Roseman decides that he wants to make a ton of moves. So we're going to talk about them, some that we kind of knew that were coming in terms of waivers and some that we didn't know were coming in the form of trades. I figured the best way to do this is to just kind of share my screen and kind of go over the last few days of transactions. They're not all here, but some are here in terms of the big trades that Philly made. So for starters, the team acquired quarterback Sam Howell and a 2026 sixth round pick from the Vikings for a fifth and a seventh round pick. This to me screamed two things. One, which we found to be true, the Eagles didn't believe in Dorian Thompson Robinson or Kyle McCord post the preseason, both of which ended up being cut. So we can definitively say that that is for certain. Sam Howell comes in as the Eagles' third string quarterback at this point in time, but also with the finger issue that Tanner McKee has at this point in time, Sam Howell is a serviceable enough backup as well. So I thought that this was a pretty sharp move from Howie. I thought you didn't have to pay a lot of a price. And in the 2026 draft class, in which the Eagles have a ton of capital, they tried to spend capital in this draft on McCord to get a third string guy. Didn't like what they saw. McKee got hurt. And again, Howie knows how important each game is and what the Philadelphia Eagles have at this point in time. If Jalen were to get hurt and miss time, you want to have a quarterback in there that you believe could go out there and win a game. We've seen Sam Howell be a starter before and win games. And then the team went and got Fred Johnson from the Jaguars. Fred Johnson obviously was a part of the Philadelphia Eagles last year to come in, especially when Mailata missed time with injury and was very serviceable. Howie knows that offensive lines aren't just five deep. You need 6, 7, 8, 9 guys deep on an offensive line because there's going to be injuries throughout the year. Guys like Steen, Pryor, Fred Johnson, like obviously Steen is planning to be a starter, but depth pieces like Johnson, who could play both tackles, Pryor could play guard, and you can move Steen or Dickerson around. Like these are big pieces to have throughout the course of a season. And then Howie moves on from Darian Kennard for a sixth round pick. So, to me, this was getting draft capital back and upgrading the position. It felt like a pretty good masterclass from Howie. So these trades here I thought were sharp. I didn't think that they were too impactful. Let's talk about some of the cuts, man. Some of the cuts that came today. I don't have those up, but there were some big ones. Obviously, Kyle McCord and Dorian Thompson Robinson. Like we mentioned, the Eagles didn't have faith in those guys. Tanner McKee dealing with injury, traded for Sam Howell. A lot of things made sense there. There was a split second where when the Philadelphia Eagles traded for Sam Howell, I was like, did we get a monster offer for Tanner McKee? Did we get a second, third round pick, just something that we couldn't, pass up on? Didn't come to be, just came to be more of an injury concern, which I'm fine with. I think McKee's great at 25 years old. He has a lot of upside, and I'm surprised that a team like the Browns or Saints hasn't come calling for McKee, especially the Saints with Kellen Moore seeing McKee all of last year. Kind of a surprising move to me personally. Then we had cornerback Eli Ricks. Looks like he's going to be cut. Ricks had been with the team for a while. He never quite made that jump, had to play in some games for us. I believe he was in the first game that the Eagles wore the Kelly Greens, and he was a starter that week, if memory serves me correct. But Eli Ricks, a pretty small frame, never really had the makings of being a great tackler and just wasn't stout coverage-wise. Ran a lot with the second and third teams, and you bring in a Jacorian Bennett, you have Mick Williams, you have Keely Ringo, you have Adoree Jackson. Like, there just wasn't enough room for Eli Ricks, which sucks because I think Ricks is an NFL player. I think Ricks could step in and be a cornerback 4 or 5 on a lot of teams around the league. He just didn't make it on the Eagles depth chart, which is, sad to see because he'd been with the team for a little while there. We also had Kenyon Green, the main piece in terms of a player that we got back in the CJ Gardner-Johnson deal. So that sucked to see because when you traded for Kenyon Green, obviously we knew that this was more of a financial move to get off of CJ Gardner-Johnson's contract and allow the Texans to eat all of that. That way Philly could give Jurgens an extension, give Dickerson a raise, give Saquon a raise, work out contracts in the future with a Jalen Carter. The team has so much talent that you can't afford to pay everybody. You pay Zach Bond and you move on from a CJ Gardner-Johnson to free up that money, and you bring back a lotto ticket on Kenyon Green, a guy who was a former first round pick, had high upside, and to be at the point where this guy couldn't even make the roster, where, like I just mentioned, the Eagles value offensive linemen and having a multitude of these guys says a lot about Kenyon Green, the player, in the fact that he's just not that good. So Philly moves off of him as well. We'll see some moves in the coming days. I'm interested to see what happens at the wide receiver position in terms of that 5-6 battle. If we get any surprise cuts, I don't think that there's going to be much surprise cuts for Philly, but you wouldn't think it. That's why it's a surprise. Maybe the biggest surprise that I could potentially see is Josh Uche. If Ojolari outplayed him and they'd rather keep some of the young guys on the squad. But yeah, man, the Howie was busy making minor moves. Obviously, Trey Hendrickson gets signed. I know there was that floating rumor about the Eagles trading Jalix Hunt in a 3rd-round pick for Hendrickson. I didn't think that was ever really going to happen. I think that the team believes a lot in Jalix Hunt. That's why he wasn't playing in the preseason. And I'm excited, man. Football is 10 days away. So if you love the Philadelphia Eagles and you're not yet subscribed to this channel, make sure you hit that button. I will catch you next time. Peace.